Hey guys, Joe here. I have a nice little treat for you. Today we're taking a look at the brand new re-release Compliance Edge SVM. If you remember a while back, we looked at the Compliance Edge Henchman and I absolutely loved that knife. It is just perfect in every way, but I sold it to pick up this knife because the SVM answers one big problem I had with the Henchman, and it's that the Henchman is a long, straight style knife, which makes it hard to conceal on my smaller waist size. This has something going on, despite being around the same overall length, that makes it much, much better for concealment. So I was very happy to see that he was re-releasing these. The last time he did the SVM was back in, I believe, 2018. It was a little bit smaller, a little bit more roughly finished, but in the last couple years, his attention to detail, his fitment, his overall craftsmanship has just skyrocketed, and rightfully so, so has his popularity. So these are kind of a hot ticket item. As of right now, there's only 10 of this specific colorway in the world. He will be doing more, but I just want to warn you guys ahead of time, this is not cheap. This is a small batch, single shop kind of production, custom knife, and this is going to be expensive, rightfully so. This is a $340 knife, and I do think he has earned every dollar, though we'll speak about more of the value with this further in. Right now, let's just get to the money shot here. Boom. I want to point out, made with passion and precision in the United States. He makes these all by himself in California. Maybe once in a while he has buddies come in and help him with a shop, but he does as much in stock by himself as possible. And he has just made a really, really big splash in the knife world. Comes with a sticker, and as a funny joke, also a Band-Aid, and you will need it. Yanni's knives are just ridiculously sharp out of box. This is shaving. Today is more of a first impression of this knife. It's not a review. We'll carry it longer if we decide to keep it and do maybe a 6-12 month review down the road. But I have carried this a little bit, did some quick draw practice, did some concealment practice by walking around in public with it, and I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far. We're gonna go over just generally what you're getting here for your money, $340 USD before tax and shipping. Go over some specs, compare it to a couple knives, and just kind of give you my kind of initial thoughts on this knife. So as you can see here, this thing is just, as I always describe his work, immaculate. And since I have carried it, do keep in mind those scuffs are from me. It's just perfect. Everything's beautifully rounded. Not a single flaw in this knife. And you can expect that when you're paying $340. But he just goes above and beyond what a lot of other small batch custom makers are doing. And I want you to listen to this sheath. It's so tight in a good way. There's no way this is coming out on you. And it provides a nice amount of tension to just spring that right off. That is exactly how a Kydex sheath should be. And then if you listen here, excellent, excellent clip. Just beautifully made sheath. But this is what you really want to see here. That blade. Everything is rounded. I believe some of it has been hand sanded. I think Yanni even called this like his masterpiece as of this moment. The one he's put the most love into, the most effort into, and you can tell it's just perfect in every way. So let me put this back down. We're looking at an overall length on this of 7.62 inches, which is kind of the biggest I would say you can conceal carry if you have a thinner waist. And largely it's because of this kind of curved handle that is good for helping it stay a little bit closer to the body instead of springing straight out like the Henchman. And then also on top of that, when you're holding it, it kind of cants the blade forward, which is good for draw utility cuts, but also for combative cuts. And that's the thing with the SVM. It's kind of meant for a reverse or ice pick style grip for self-defense, either in this motion or with a punching kind of slash motion. You can see it cants forward of the knuckles here to create a really, really nasty slash profile. He's done a really good job at researching how to make these knives do some pretty serious damage, but also be good for EDC. And in terms of the cutting edge, we're looking at, as he puts it, 3.28 inches. Just to do some size comparisons here, it's going to be hard since it is a curved handle, but here is the SE Azula 2 and then the SE4. Those are two pretty common fixed blades. You can see it's kind of in between there. Again, this is probably the biggest you're probably going to want to conceal carry in terms of fixed blades, and the only way I can conceal it is because of that nicely curved handle. With the Henchman, that's almost the same overall length and same cutting edge. I just couldn't conceal it, which is why I sold it to pick up this knife, because it is a straight, full-on profile like these two are. And then bringing in two folders, for those of you not really into fixed blades just yet, hopefully you will be after seeing this. There's a 940 Osborne, and then a PM2. Try to get those relatively lined up for you. And you can see it is shorter overall than either of them, but still a very, very functional blade. Under 3.5-inch blade for those of you that care about legal purposes, so that makes it really great. And if I put these cutting edge to cutting edge, it's just barely more cutting edge than the 940. And if I move this guy back, very similar cutting edge to the PM2. The difference in length is mostly from handle, not from the business end of the blade. So let me get those out of here. And then for my guys that are only into slip joints, as always, a 93 millimeter or 91 millimeter Victorinox. Now, getting into this, what it's made out of, we're working with a Magna Cut steel, and these are relatively sterile blades. You don't see any branding on the front face or steel logos or anything, and the only thing you get on the reverse is his logo, the CE. So it doesn't list the steel, but right now all of the knives he's producing, I believe, are exclusively Magna Cut, and being a small shop, that they're actually being heat treated correctly. That's kind of a big issue in the knife industry right now, is a lot of people are advertising Magna Cut and then absolutely butchering the heat treat. You don't have to worry about that here. He makes sure everything is done perfectly. You can see everything is just really, really well rounded here. And these jimping bits here and here might seem a little weird because they're so big, but they're not aggressive. So they are rounded over. It doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. But because they're big, if you really lock down and push on it, you're really going to be locked in. You don't have to worry about sliding off it. It's a really interesting way to do jimping, and I really do like it. It's very good and functional. And if you were to, get gory or anything with this, they're a lot easier to clean out than really small bits of jimping and whatnot. You can see we've got really nice swedging going on here for a good piercing tip, but it's still a very good tip. And with it being Magna Cut steel, it's a good balanced steel. A lot of people have kind of overhyped it, but it's a good balance of corrosion resistance, edge retention, and toughness. And so for this kind of knife, that's a really good steel to go with. Personally, I still prefer 3V like on the Henchman, but I am not going to complain about his high quality finished Magna Cut whatsoever. You do see we've got nice rounding on the metal that protrudes from this knife all the way around. And you would think because it's protruding, it's going to be uncomfortable. Not at all. And then he's got really nicely sculpted G10 here. This is obviously the black and OD version. He does tons of different versions, styles. He had an uncoated with really beautiful carbon fiber. He's got coyote, he's got black. Eventually he'll probably do a multicam version of this that'll be a pretty penny. If I had to guess, $350 to $375. Personally, I'm happy with this at $340. In terms of overall lock into my hands, I do have bigger than average hands, and I talked about this on Instagram with this knife. It's a little cramped for me. I got some room to move down here, but not much. And so if I really bear down on this, I can get some hot spotting, but it's not so bad that I'm going to cry about it. It's just I have bigger than average hands, and that's life. This is like a big issue with tons of knives for me. So it's nothing wrong with the knife. I think he did a really good sizing and increase in size over the old SVM. It's just I've got ogre hands, and so it's a little bit uncomfortable for me, but for you guys, it's probably going to be perfectly fine. And again, this is not designed for a normal grip. This is designed mostly for a reverse grip, which is why we have more jimping here. And in this, I'm totally comfortable. The only critique I could have about the grip overall is I wish there was more of a guard here, especially if you got bigger fingers. You might be potentially going to slip up on that blade if you do a hard stab through tough material, hit bone, or something like that. But again, that might be more that I've got big fingers and not so much the design of the blade. But if I were to change anything about this, it would just be a little bit more of a guard, maybe more along the lines of his DCK. Now putting this blade back down here, overall, I really enjoyed it. The really great thing about this is it's way more concealable. If I get a chance to remember to do it, I'll run in some footage right now so you can see how it looks on my body with a standard t-shirt. Maybe I'll do some quick draws for you guys. But overall, I think this has a really great design if you have a smaller waist and you really like the Henchman but just wasn't working for you. This is the one to go with because it's got a very similar overall length, very similar cutting edge. It does fit the hand nicely. Not quite as nice as the Henchman, but it is there. However, I do think there's a little issue with price. Now, for $340, you should get a perfect knife, and that's what you're getting here. Immaculate craftsmanship, cutting-edge material with the Magna Cut. Properly done Magna Cut is hard to find now. But at $340, it's a little high. If we look at something like the RMJ Unmai that came out with the sculpted or really milled G10 in Magna Cut, another company that does a great job with heat treating, that was like $265, I believe. So quite a bit cheaper than this. And that, unlike this, didn't just come with a sheath, it also came with a mounting option. With Compliance Edge, you have to buy the mounting options separately. The good thing with a sheath is you can use basically any option you want. You can use a tech lock, you can use an ulti clip, You can do the discrete carry clips, and how I personally do it is with the pull dots, but it should come with some sort of attachment at that price. And overall, I think the price is a little high. Not anything where he should lower it. Oh, that's crap, terrible value. It's just this isn't as wowing as it was with the Henchman back when it was $215. I don't know that I can justify the cost of the Henchman back then over this, and even with the price increases on the Henchman, which I think are now around 240, 260 somewhere. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that it's really going to be worth more money than the Henchman unless you really need this design. So it's kind of outcompeted by some other high-end tactical fixed blades out there. Even by one of his own knives, I think the Henchman is probably a better value. But if you've got the money and you want an excellent piece of equipment here that's still going to be a great user, it's not just a shelf piece, the SVM is great. Again, wish it had a guard, wish it was a little bit cheaper, more affordable, I guess is the better way to put that. And especially, I wish it came with some sort of mounting option. For this price, there's absolutely no reason not for it to come with something. So I would encourage Yanni, pick a mounting option. If you want to do pull dots, include at least one pull dot with this, maybe two, or include an ulti clip. I think people would really appreciate it. Every other maker in this price bracket is including a mounting option. You probably should too. But overall, I'm very happy with this knife. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but overall, I think this is going to be a keeper for me. I'm still on the fence, but I'm very much looking forward to where he goes from here, because this is perfection. I don't really think he can do better than this. And if he can, I want to be there to see it. So props to Yanni on this. He's done an excellent job over the last few years. The Henchman is one of my favorite fixed blades of all time. The only reason I sold it was to help pick this up and because I couldn't really conceal it, but I'm probably going to pick up a Henchman again in the future because it's just such an awesome knife. But this I think is going to grow on me to the point where it might supersede the Henchman in terms of my favorite fixed blade thus far. So until next time, stay safe, stay informed. If we keep this, carry it for a little while, and then we'll come back for a 6 to 12 month review. Toodles!